when I was a kid, I was a baseball fan, and one of the things that particularly fascinated me about baseball was the idea of extra innings. You know, here you have a 9-inning game, and that's the regulation time. It's supposed to be finished in 9 innings. But every so often, the game goes into extra innings. The game gets extended. And as a kid, I really appreciated it because sometimes on Sunday afternoons, I couldn't follow the entire game because I had errands to run or homework to do. And I'd come back and think that the game is over and just notice that I'm able to catch the bottom of the 10th. I'm able to catch a couple of extra innings. Now, the idea of extra innings is really a remarkable idea because it kind of gives you the sense that what's there is not necessarily all that's there. That sometimes even a game that's 9 innings can be stretched and it can go 10 or 11 or 12 or 20 innings. And extra innings, I think, ought to be the motto of some of the more profound ideas you find in Judaism. First of all, we believe in extra innings in terms of space. You know, it's fascinating. Before the death of Moses, now, if you read the Bible, you know that Moses never has the opportunity to enter into the land of Israel. He gets just to the edge, but he never gets in. And God tells Moses what you can do before you die is go to the top of the mountain and peer into Israel. Take a look into Israel. And I've always thought it was like so strange. It's almost a tease. You're asking Moses to stand at the top of the mountain and look into Israel. And that somehow is supposed to make him feel that much better? But the answer is actually it does make feel Moses better. Because if you can envision something, if you can see something, if you can dream about something, you're halfway there. And that, by the way, is the extra innings of space. For Jews, space is not necessarily the type of space that you would describe in physics. If you're sitting at a Seder, and it can be a Seder in Europe during the Holocaust, but if you're sitting at a Seder and you're saying L'Shana Haba B'Yerushalayim next year in Jerusalem, then you're halfway there. Then there's an extension of space. Space isn't necessarily defined by the regulation space. We live in the extra innings of space. We feel like wherever we are, we can still be connected to the one place that we dream about. And it's not just about space, it's about time as well. There's extra innings in time. You know, we say that the holiday of Shmini Atzeret, which is the 8th day of Sukkot, is actually an extra day of the holiday. It's meant to be a 7-day holiday, but then it was decided to stretch it for a day. And this is really, I think, to some conception, the Jewish idea of time. Time can be stretched, it can be molded. It's not necessarily, again, time as defined by a physicist. We live in the extra innings of time. And sometimes you can be involved in a certain date, and you'll say, oh, this is November or October 1944. But really, you're living at a completely different level of time that has nothing to do with October 1944. And I read recently a fascinating story in the Jerusalem Post about a guy by the name of Naftali Stern, who during the Holocaust was sent to a labor camp, where actually the treatment that he had was relatively kind compared to the concentration camps. And during the particular time of the year when Rosh Hashanah was coming up, he started to barter some of his food rations to get some potato sacks and to get a pencil. And having led the prayers in his synagogue when he was younger, Naftali Stern sat down and wrote out the entire Rosh Hashanah prayer. And then when the people working in this labor camp had a break on Rosh Hashanah, they went and he led the prayers, reading off the prayers that he had written on the side of potato sacks. 33 years later, he walks into Yad Vashem, Israel's Holocaust Memorial, and he brings in these particular potato sacks because he says, I need people to know this story. And yes, we need to know Naftali Stern's story because it teaches us a profound lesson of life. Sometimes it could be October 1944, but in extra innings, it's Rosh Hashanah. It's a completely different time. when you live a life of extra innings, space is no longer physical space, time is no longer physical time. You can stretch things and mold things as you wish, and you can actually extend reality to go, frankly, into the supernatural, and the exceptional. And that is the lesson of extra innings.